Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tap to Duel. I'm one of your hosts, Levi.
And I'm Trevor.
And
So this is our new podcast series. We're going to be talking about Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and kind of some of the differences and similarities between the games. And at the beginning of each series or each show, we're going to be doing a little bit of a pack opening for you guys.
yeah, just for some
Um,
funsies, right?
yeah.
Why
Maybe
not?
we'll find some cool cards and see if we
Drive the
can.
conversation a little bit.
Right, and then we'll talk about those for a little while. So we
What are we
really hope you
talking
guys
about
enjoy.
today?
So, well, today let's see what kind of packs we have. So, over on my side, this is hi, I'm Trevor. Hello. Over here, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any Magic packs today. We're gonna try to do a little bit of both, as much as possible. But I do have a little bit of a treat. These are OTS 13, which are a little difficult to find right now, just because we're not actually having tournaments. So our OTS is actually giving these out as promos right now if you spend a certain amount of money
Which,
on product.
like the card game people we are,
Right.
we spend that
So
money.
yeah. So that's yeah. So you won't see these a whole lot on the show, the OTS. So this is kind of a treat that I thought I'd bring out for the first episode. And then Levi, what do you have over there?
Well, so I have a little bit of a combination of things. Starting off on the outside, I have just some Core 21 packs of Magic cards. It's the most recent core set. I found it really solid, and there's a lot of good stuff in it. Then here in the
Yeah.
middle, I have some Toon Chaos, which for Yu-Gi-Oh, I play a Toon deck, so I do appreciate the tunes, and I'm actually looking for almost any of those Toon cards.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just get right into the opening and see if we find anything cool. All right.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So I think we'll start out with the OTS 13, and then we'll move on from there. Okay.
Sounds good. All
So
right. So what do we
so
have
any
there?
for any who are unfamiliar with the OTS 13 or any of the OTS sets, you actually only have 3 cards per pack.
Oh, that's weird.
These are typically pretty good reprints.
Straight
So we have the
swankiness.
Exene unit.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
Um, is this the Dimension Fortress? I don't know what that is either, to be honest with you.
What's this?
Um,
Put it up a little bit closer to the camera for me. It's so just
oh,
for a little bit of background on us. I play Magic primarily, and Trevor plays Yu-Gi-Oh primarily, but we sucker
yeah.
each other into playing.
Okay, wow.
Read that out loud for me, because
That
I'm.
that's a card to start out with. So, I don't know exactly how to. Wow. That kind of I kind of lost my words for a second there. This is Trap Tricks Reflexia
Okay.
Ultimate Rare.
Okay.
Um,
Is it shiny?
so it's extra shiny. I apologize for my lighting and my camera quality is not the best. Unfortunately, I'm looking to upgrade that soon. What? Yeah. Okay. So the OTS sets are the only place where we can get ultimate rares now. Were previously the highest Yu-Gi-Oh rarity.
Nerd.
For
Just kidding.
for nice
Yeah, I know,
for
aren't we all?
for like 10, 12 years. It was the highest rarity, so that's actually like absolutely insane. These are like 3 per case.
Dang.
Um, of I think like they get like 100 packs in a case or something like. So these are really extremely rare. I don't know how expensive this is, but that's a way to start off the
All
opening,
right, there we
especially
go.
for the first
So,
episode. That's
like, super high
okay.
rarity card. All right, let's hit up that other one.
So that okay, wow, that just yeah, wow.
Rarities. It's really different.
So okay, yeah. So we'll go on to the next pack. What I was starting to say there is that these sets are known for being pretty good for reprints, especially for competitive cards. Um, so what do we have? We have Spore right here.
Okay.
We have the Goyo Defender, and this is Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, which is actually a really good reprint. Crystal Wing is one of those 3K attack beaters with a good negation effect in a synchro monster. So yeah, that's what we got. That's I'd say I couldn't ask for really a better way to start off the opening.
I was about to say that sounds pretty good. Like
Yeah.
it's interesting with the rarities. I'm gonna move on to the Core 21 right now.
Yeah, let's take a look at some magic.
But it's interesting to talk about the rarities and the differences there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, everyone's gonna make fun of me because these packs are difficult to open. But it's very
I would say, yeah, magic packs are a little bit tougher to open up. I think the wrappers are a little bit better put together.
and these magic packs are in a little bit of a weird order. So we got Island, uh, Maze Tome. Interesting. So what I got for my rare for this one is Maze Mine Tome, which is actually better for limited rather than any constructed formats. And then we have some other. That's a decent vampire. All right, some all right things. So one of the interesting things with Magic packs versus Yu-Gi-Oh packs is Magic packs are designed for drafting. Okay, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Which means that the cards have to. You can only have certain cards in there. For example, again, the Maze Mine Tome, the rare for this pack, is actually a relatively good card in limited. Which means that you open up packs and you just build a deck. However, in constructed, it's not as swanky a card, one might say.
Right.
Which is really interesting with the rarities and the way the formats work. And I think that'll be another video, is the different formats in the game.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's definitely going to be a big, probably a multi-video topic.
Yeah, and the differences there. So, oh, we got a foil.
Ooh.
It's an all right card. It's a cat. Decent for
Listen.
cat
We
decks.
like foil cards around here.
Oh, this is an interesting one. Okay, so first off, a cool vampire here is one of my uncommons. Um, but I'll get to what this rare is in just a moment. Kind of looking at some of the other cards. Some decent. Oh, again, Swift Strike, Shock, a classic. Going through some more cats, imps. All right. So my two rares are, how do I pronounce this? Spark Hunter Manticore, which the big thing with this card, it's a 3/4. However, it has protection from planeswalkers, which is really interesting.
Okay.
So planeswalkers
Okay.
are a type of card in Magic, and that stays on the field, similar to continuous spells in Yu-Gi-Oh. And this card cannot be targeted or it cannot be targeted or affected. Let me look up what protection means. So protection is an interesting mechanic, though. So I actually got both artifacts.
Well, artifact and artifact creature.
Artifact and artifact creature, so they're good. Um, it cannot be affected by any magic of those colors. And it cannot be targeted specifically. That's what protection does in Magic, which is a really interesting mechanic. It's a little bit overpowered, but it's fine. So moving on.
Okay.
Yes.
So now we have the Toon Chaos.
Toon Chaos. What I'm looking for in this one, we've actually gotten a decent amount of these packs, and they happen to be a little bit more interesting, hopefully. I'm looking for a lot of the Toon stuff. I have no idea what half these things are. Oh, I know what that guy is. I've seen him before. Chaos Space. Aren't you building the Chaos Space?
Yeah.
Envoy of Chaos, Spark Dust Dragon, and then Dwarf Star.
I don't even remember how to pronounce his name. Planeteer, yeah, something like that. Chaos Space is actually pretty decent for a super rare, though.
Then we'll do the other one, and then we'll get to talking about our topics here.
Yeah.
Which is I'm going to be honest. I've had a decent amount of the Toon Chaos, and I haven't actually gotten.
Yeah, we haven't done super well with it. Neither of us actually.
Evocation, something, True King, Masked Hero, Goka, and then
one of the BLS dudes.
Okay.
Fair enough.
It's interesting. So I'm going to be honest. As a set, I would not recommend Toon Chaos as a set to have people get started on.
Probably not. And the reason I think that is because Toon Chaos is kind of more of an expansion set, and you see this a lot with Yu-Gi-Oh. You don't see a lot of draftability.
So, kind of talking about that, like with the draftability, how do people like? I'll be honest. So I'll talk about how I got started into Yu-Gi-Oh. I got started into Yu-Gi-Oh. I played when I was younger. I actually played a decent amount at like high school lunches, and then I kind of stopped, and then Trevor got into it, and the joke we have is we subsidize each other's collection. So Trevor basically, my primary deck I play is I have at least semi-competitively, I have a Necros deck, right, as of right now, and Trevor was able to trade and basically trade and open all the cards I needed for the Necros deck.
Right, and collect all that stuff. Yeah.
And so I kind of had a jump start, magic pun,
Hmm.
into that. So, but Trevor, how would people normally get into Yu-Gi-Oh? Well, how would you recommend?
Well, see, yeah, see, that's an interesting question. So, um, you see, normally what I would say, at least for Yu-Gi-Oh, depending, of course, on kind of the time frame and such, is starter decks, or structure decks. So normally with Yu-Gi-Oh, you get one of these things, and they're only $10, so it's kind of a lower cost of entry. Um, but when you get these, you typically for Yu-Gi-Oh you get three of them, because most of these cards you only get one copy of each, and your playset in Yu-Gi-Oh is three, so you get three of them, and that usually gets you a deck that works fairly well with itself. With Magic, it's a little different.
Yeah. So the Magic is an interesting game, and one of the things we're going to talk about at some point is the different formats. And there's a lot of different types of Magic. There's stuff such as standard, uh, modern, pioneer, brawl, and my favorite format, Commander. So I typically play Commander, as evidences by my soaring playmat here. And within Commander, uh, the way you really get started is either through a friend or a structure deck. One of the precons. So these
Right,
structure decks
right.
are called precons. They typically come out once a year with like four of them. This year is the year of Commander, and there's seven of them,
Yeah.
which is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
But basically, these precons, they're designed to be able to be played in any sort, like out of the box, with both each other and with normal commander decks. However, they sometimes have really good cards, but if you want to get into the format, a lot of times you'll upgrade a precon.
Gotcha. So, is there anywhere where you would say that these pre-con decks are maybe not the way to get started, or maybe there's a better way to get started than these pre-con decks?
So it depends on what you're looking at. So specifically with Magic, like my pet deck, which I will talk about a million times on this show eventually, is I have a tribal minotaurs deck, which tribal means in Magic terms, tribal means that it's all one creature type and or one archetype in sort of Yu-Gi-Oh terms. And tribal decks, the original Commander precons, or not the original, I believe it's 20. Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head. One of the Commander precons was a tribal commander. It was all tribal commander. So all of them had specific tribes.
Right.
However, those precon decks are going for $150 to $200 right now in the box. Don't
Okay.
don't buy those out of the box unless you're willing to spend $150 $200. If you're willing to,
Right.
great. However, when I built my tribal commander deck, I didn't start from that base. Then
And that's, I mean, that's a bit of a price tag to be looking at if you're starting the game, right?
right, yeah, and kind of moving on from that same idea, with the precons, if you don't like what they're doing, because every precon has a theme. For example, in the most recent set, they all had some type of mechanic that was their focus, whether it be cycling, mutate, like keyword graveyard recursion, doubling spells or copying spells, uh, and then there's like whether it be any of those. That was some of the most recent pre-constructed. Or again, there was a tribal deck, but it wasn't as strong this year. If you don't like what the theme of the precon is, then don't buy it because
Yeah, and that makes sense.
yeah, Commander is very themed. So what kind of makes you pick the box sets? Because the way that I would say pick a Commander precon is based on the theming and the whether you enjoy um, like the keywords or the abilities that it's the focus of the deck? What would you call the criteria for starting off with a Yu-Gi-Oh deck?
See, I think with Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think there's a little bit of overlap, right? Like maybe you're looking at like, oh, well, I really like, in Yu-Gi-Oh, normally you're looking at the monster type, or you're looking at maybe an archetype. But typically, you're looking for mechanics, right? Yu-Gi-Oh is definitely centered around using different mechanics, okay? And this could be either how they interact with their opponents or how they summon. Just different kinds of things like that. You might have noticed down here. Today in the opening we got a couple of different extra deck cards. So the extra deck strategies are extremely popular in Yu-Gi-Oh. And that's definitely something that we'll touch on at a later date. But a lot of strategies are focused around being good at one of those kinds of summonings, and that's been kind of the focus of structure decks is either finding a way to focus on one sort of summoning or focusing on a sort of mechanic, whether it be graveyard manipulation, which tends to be something to do with zombies, or it
So it's
could
kind of the
be
same in a way, right?
yeah,
I'm
almost,
kind of
but
hearing
it
some similar vibes here with like both these.
definitely, definitely. But I think Yu-Gi-Oh kind of tackles it in more of a themed way. In that, usually a structure deck will be centered around an archetype. Okay, so in Magic, you're not looking so much at these
Right.
archetypes.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
When you look at like over here at the evocator, right? There's a whole, and I don't know how many of them there are, but there's that's an archetype, the evocators, right? The trap tricks are an archetype, right? The goyos over here, where are they at?
Well, so
Over
like
here,
even now I have like the masked hero
right?
and
There's another masked hero right there.
there's another one.
Um, you're that purple with the fusion.
Oh, that's another masked hero. I knew
Yep,
that.
another masked hero.
Um,
Um,
but so this is interesting. So for
right,
example, I'll talk about this with I have some magic cards up here. And I'll talk about it with here. We have the Spark Hunter Mana Core. This could go in an artifact synergy deck, which is all about artifacts, or it could go in literally any other deck. And
right.
for the example that when we're talking about the commander precons, there's the copying instant and sorceries deck. Everything that that deck has in common is about copying instant and sorceries, but it also has other things that are just generic, like a soul ring. This card.
Yeah, yeah, and there's certainly, I mean, I think there's certainly some commonality there. I mean, there's plenty of staples for Yu-Gi-Oh decks,
Well, of
especially in the
course.
competitive scene.
But it's interesting how it's all like it's
Y-
all themed. Like every like a
yes,
search
yes,
card in Yu-Gi-Oh in one of those precons. I'm talking Magic Talk. In one of the structure decks, yeah. In one of the
right,
structure decks, there's a search card that's a synergy search card, and that's part of the
right,
structure deck.
right. One of the examples I like to use is the Cyber Dragons. They actually have access to several search cards, and I mean it's specifically for that archetype. They're machines, and they all have that light attribute. And they've got multiple search cards that'll either go for those light machines, or it'll specifically say Cyber Dragon Monster
That's pretty cool.
in the text. And yeah, so it's that's one of the things. You don't see a whole lot of that in
There
Magic, except
actually,
minus like some partners
now
and
I'll be honest. I gotta kind of disagree with you there. There is a good amount of search cards that are synergistic with a theme. With tribes. This is tribal.
right,
So
right.
if I were to play
It's a
again,
little more broad, I would say.
yeah, there now again with the themes with the precons, there are more specific search cards you could say. So like a cycling deck has cards that recur cycling cards.
Right,
Or searches cycling cards in my Minotaurs. My Minotaurs are not a really super supported theme, but they have cards that search Minotaurs.
right.
There are unique synergy cards. However, the way they're not as they aren't broad. I guess like you don't just search like or there are the broad search cards are expensive. They're called tutor cards. And for example, there's a blue one for 1 blue mana, and it searches out, I believe, any enchantment, or that's the white one. The white one searches out. It's called Idyllic Tutor. It searches out
Right.
any enchantment from your deck.
Which is extremely broad.
Extremely broad, and that's extremely expensive. It's not a common card that would just come in a pre-constructed deck.
Right. Right.
Like it's going to be higher rarity than any of the cards I got here.
Right. So
How would you?
speaking of kind of these expensive cards and kind of these rare things that you might not find in in a precon or in a
Right.
structure deck, why would somebody maybe not want to start with those and maybe start by buying their cards online or at their local shop? What's the advantage there?
So one of there's the advantage of buying something, at least in Magic, that's a pre-constructed deck is, first off, it's pre-constructed, and if you don't know as much about the game coming in, then it's going to be more straightforward, and you're going to have a lot of like your ratios down.
So it's going to hold your hand a little bit.
Well, yeah, it is going to hold your hand a little bit, but the big thing for that is ratios. And obviously, you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player. You know that it's all about consistency and all about
Oh
ratios
yeah.
there.
Oh yeah.
In Commander, it's all a lot of the same. However, being a singleton format, you have to again do it a bit more broadly. But with the precons, it already has everything built. Whereas with the if you're to buy it online, you'd have to design the deck yourself, which is honestly the biggest hurdle. You can get the same deck, if not more powerful. There are many good podcasts online and shows online about how to build budget decks. So you can make a budget deck easily, but the biggest hurdle is the organization, the ratios, and building a deck that functions rather than getting a powerful deck.
Right. Right.
So,
And I would definitely say, another one of the main disadvantages to just kind of starting off buying, cards and such is kind of that prior knowledge, right? If you don't go in with a lot of knowledge of the game, how the game's played, even if it's what's considered a competitive or, a high tier deck or, just something that's very synergistic and works well together, you're not necessarily gonna, be able to figure out the mechanics of the game
well,
yourself.
and that's what that, and my biggest advice would be to new players is find friends and find a play group.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this just to kind of wrap all this up, and like the pros of like the precons is it's good and straightforward. Honestly, though, if you went and bought your own deck, you could make it way more powerful if you
Definitely.
know
And
what you're
that's,
doing.
what we'd ultimately recommend, after getting into the game is, you
Of
know,
course, through your LGS and support them, and or like
right.
go to them first. My biggest advice I'd say though is rely on your friends.
Absolutely.
Like this guy right here. Let me tell you something. I have no idea what I'm doing when building a Yu-Gi-Oh deck.
I mean,
I
you
can
have a
build
little bit of an
one.
idea.
Okay, I have a little bit of an idea, but I still go to him for every single step of the way going. Before I make any order, before I go like make my list, I write down what I think might be good, and then I come to him. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I have half those cards anyway, obviously." But
Yeah, yeah.
besides
And
that,
and a lot of it's by coincidence and a lot of it is, me just looking out for good trades or, something that I've picked up in a pack, a while back and just holding on to it. And I think it's vice versa for, when I'm looking into Magic is now I'm not necessarily deck building quite as much with Magic because that's a little bit more of a longer process with
it's
100
100
cards.
cards versus 40.
Right, right. But it's kind of the same idea is, if I have a big idea or I'm making a big change, to my deck, it's going to be kind of a process and I'm going to bring it to you,
Yeah,
and
well,
that's
I built him a 14. No, yours. How many pages? Yours was 14 or 13-page spreadsheet.
I think it ended up being 14.
Yeah. I built him a spreadsheet with like keywords and card archetypes and prices, and rely on your friends, and be also, if you're already into one of these games, be willing to help your friends out.
Absolutely. I mean, getting new players in and even bringing old players back, that's really the way that we're keeping these games alive. And, at least to me, these games are, they're looking up,
Oh yeah,
card games
definitely.
are getting more and more popular by the day, which is a great thing.
Yeah, and I just yeah, definitely. The easiest way to get into it is through your friends, or even if not, go to your local game store when the corona isn't
Absolutely.
here, and
Yeah.
just talk to people. Most people are super nice, super accommodating.
Extremely friendly. Extremely friendly.
Yeah, and be like talk to them, ask them. Most everybody has more than one deck, and so you can try them out, and I'd
Yep.
highly recommend that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And after that, if you want to get into it, depending on how comfortable you are, go towards the pre-con or the structure deck route, and then after that, build your own deck into like personalize it, my friends.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
of course, it's all about having fun. And I think that's it for today.
Yeah. So, guys, if you like what you're listening to, or you want to come back for more, definitely drop us a like and subscribe
Do all the
to the
things.
Baller Noobs tabletop channel.
And
And
of
tell
course,
us,
I was just gonna say, tell us what you want us to talk about next.
yeah, absolutely. Leave it down in the comments. That's exactly where I was going. Is
That's some family.
if you have some packs maybe you want to see us open, or you have a topic you want to hear about, let us know in the comments. And if you want to see potentially any gameplay, we are doing multiple different kind of games coming up here on the Baller Noobs tabletop channel. So if you like, seeing some Yu-Gi-Oh or some MTG gameplay, or maybe even some miniatures gameplay,
Ooh, that could be yeah.
check back
Table
on the
everything tabletop on the tabletop channel.
yes. Yeah.
But
So yeah, check back on the tabletop channel, guys. We really appreciate you coming and listening to us today.
and until next
Thanks for
time,
checking us out.
yeah. Until next
Take it
time,
easy, guys.
take it easy.